T.J. Hooker returns next week at this time. Now a special presentation.
Please support the Word Balloon podcast by going to patreon.com/wordballoon. Become a part of the League of Word Balloon listeners. That's patreon.com/wordballoon. This episode of Word Balloon is brought to you by Ithacon, April 5th and 6th at Emerson Suites on the Ithaca College campus in Ithaca, New York. Saturday, April 5th and Sunday, April 6th. Ticket prices are $25 with kids admission free. Tickets are available at ithacon.org. That's ITHACON.org. Among the guests, Don McGregor of Black Panther fame, Chris Condon, featured in Ultimate Wolverine and Green Arrow, Matt Bors from Ahoy's Toxic Avenger, Mike Gold, known for Green Arrow, Warlord, and Wasteland, and the legendary Louise and Walter Simonson. There'll be cosplay, gaming, and kids' activities. And Ithacon is offering swag bags for the first 250 attendees that buy tickets. These overstuffed swag bags offer $20 to $50 values in comic books and more. Come see all the fun at Ithacon, April 5th and 6th at Emerson Suites on the Ithaca College campus in Ithaca, New York. For more details and tickets, come to ithacon.org. Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress with you. I've got another great guest that's going to be at Ithacon this weekend. The man behind Megaton Man and so many bizarre but always very funny images and stories. The great Don Simpson. It's great to meet you, Don. Welcome to Word Balloon.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing great. Very excited for you. I was talking to Mike Gold before we get to what everyone knows, or maybe most people remember from your work. We were talking about Wasteland, the great John Ostrander, Del Close, and you and other great artists and stuff. And forgive me, Don, until Mike brought it up, I had forgotten that you were one of the artists on that, and cover artists and interiors. Great stuff, and what a crazy but amazing book. And what were when they first approached you about that, what were your thoughts?
Well, I'm the only artist that made it through all 18 issues, and it paid my rent for a couple of years because the kitchen sink press comics were going down the tubes. I was doing a series called Border Worlds, and there was something called the Black and White Bust. There was a boom, and then there was a bust, and it took that out from under me. And luckily, Mike had some work for me, and I took it. But the thing was, I didn't know how. I had only written and drawn my own comics. I had only drawn stuff that I had imagined.
Sure.
And so now I was getting these strange scripts from John Ostrander through my fax machine, and they were like close-up, long shot, weird Del Close panel, another weird Del Close image thought. And I didn't know. I was learning on the job. I had no idea how to interpret a script, let alone this stuff. So it was Mike was very patient with me, I think, because I was learning on the job. I did not know how to break down one of these Del Close John Ostrander jobs. They were like blackout skits.
Yeah, well, obviously his background and stuff with sketch comedy. Del and even John obviously has even had a good theater background along with his.
Well, I know more now. I know more now because we didn't have the internet then. I had heard a Del Close comedy record, How to Speak Hip.
Yeah,
But you couldn't even look up, the few clips that he had from this or that,
unless your a record store or a library was carrying the stuff. I hear you,
and
man.
he did not leave a large body of work.
Well, even
We're
I
talking
think.
about Del Close that was recorded. I mean, even that documentary, they had to use our comics to illustrate the documentary because there just aren't.
Did he freeze? He froze.
They're just yeah. That was a moment.
That's great, man. No,
I
honestly,
always look forward to seeing John. I like seeing Mike at Ithacon. I've been there for 4 years. This will be my fourth year. So I see
well,
Mike, and we have a panel,
yeah. Tell me about the
and
panel.
we
Yeah.
talk about we talk about doing something along the wasteland line because I say I can do it better now. Let's do something. Let's get John to type out something that I could give a crack at, and we talk about it. But mostly we just do a panel, and then I'll see you next year.
No, that's great,
So,
man. I know Ed Cato and the Ithaca kids really appreciate it, and no, it's a fun convention. I've had an association with them. I won't be there, unfortunately, but I've been happy to help Ed promote it all these years. And again, uh, it's you got great perspective, and even bringing up the black and white period, the boom and bust of the black and white period. I experienced it as a college kid, man. I mean, I think Watchmen and Dark Knight brought me back in the comic store, and then I would
mhm.
see books like yours and others, and I'm like, oh, this is great, man. I mean, here I got a good cover for you. There we go. There's a classic,
All
right?
right, now you're leaping ahead almost a decade to
Well,
the
you'll forgive
90s.
me. Okay.
No, that's fine. That's the last issue of Bizarre Heroes, which was also called Megaton Man Zero, which kind of brings it full circle. I did 10 issues of Megaton Man. I did 7 issues of Bizarre Heroes. You were talking about what publisher, which publisher, what did he do, where did he do it? One of the great things about 2025 is that Fantagraphics is collecting all of the Kitchen Sink Press Megaton Man comics. So I will be able to look them up in order now because we did 10 issues, and then Dennis Kitchen insisted on renumbering it because I had taken a year and a half to do Border Worlds.
Okay.
So then we did Return of Megaton Man 1, 2, and 3. It was a mini series, which I would have preferred to have been 11, 12, and 13. Then we did a bunch of one shots, and I told him at the time, I said, I'm going to be an old man someday, and even before that, I'm going to have to count on my fingers how many comic books did I do with Megaton Man. And then I self-published Bizarre Heroes in the 90s under my Fiasco Comics imprint. And my original intention was that it would be kind of an expanded universe. There would be different characters. But the Megaton Man cast and storyline took over. And so you're seeing that last issue was Megaton Man Zero. So the whole thing came full circle. And that was kind of a recap. And that was another downturn in the market. The black and white boom and bust was 87, 88, and then 96 was the distributor collapse. Everybody signed up exclusively,
Yeah.
and little self-publishing operations like mine were uh, caught in the cash flow crunch, mostly because Capital, Friendly Frank, all these distributors went out.
Yeah. And Dynaman is the last man standing.
And
Yeah.
then I said, "That's it. All right, I've done 35 of my own comic books. I did a paperback. I did a bunch of freelance stuff, starting with Mike Gold, and I did an Alan Moore story, and I did this, that, and the other. And 96, I just said, life's too short. I'm just gonna do something else." And I did something else for almost 20 years, and now I'm back. I'm doing Ithacon, and we're doing reprints. We've got I showed you some of the stuff. I sent you a
Yeah. I got
PDF.
to. I got a
So
cover ready to go.
we've got a new collaborative team up crossover thing. That's the reprint. That's
Oh, okay. Pardon me.
Fantagraphics Underground.
I'll do the other one as
And
well while we're talking.
well, you can show that one. That's a beautiful
Okay, we'll
piece of
do that, and
artwork.
then
That's the wraparound cover,
I'll load
and
the other one while we're
that's
talking.
at the printer.
Okay.
That's being printed right now, and that's called the Complete Megaton Man Universe, Volume 1. Volume 2 is probably going to be a year away. That's going to be all the Bizarre Hero stuff that I mentioned before. So they're both over 600 pages, black and white, all of the kitchen sink comics in the first volume. And I totally rescanned everything, touched everything up, remastered everything. Doug Erb and Kit Brash and Paul Baresh and all the guys at Fantagraphics have been toiling away for months putting this thing together. And so I'm looking forward to that. But then we have this other thing, which coincidentally is going to land almost at the same time. Different publisher, different crowdfunder, and that's called Megaton Man Multimension. So we're putting this to rest this week. We're going to have a Kickstarter in a couple of weeks. April 17th, the Kickstarter for this starts. So
April 17th. I want to make sure I'm getting the date right for the start of the Kickstarter.
April 17th, 2025. So flash that again.
Indeed.
So
absolutely.
this is a collaborative team up crossover. Multimensions is like the multiverse, the omniverse, the megaverse, all these alternate realities, and all the little characters, little circles you see around Megaton Man. Those are different artists interpreting my characters.
Oh,
And we're
great.
teaming up. Excuse me. We're teaming up with Captain Action. Speaking of Ed Cato, he has something to do with Captain Action.
Absolutely.
And we're doing a Mr. Monster, a couple pages, and we're doing.
Love Mr. Monster. That's great.
Chris Ecker of Big Bang Comics. We're doing
His stuff is great. Yeah, Night Watchman. Absolutely.
Sorry for my cough.
Oh, it's okay, man. I'm sorry for my lateness. What are you talking about? I'll take
What
it.
decade is it? Where are we at? What decade
I hear you, man.
This?
No, and also, Don, it's a shame that the idea of alternate dimensions and heroes from different Earths is certainly something that's being ignored currently by companies like Marvel and DC. I mean, it was certainly timely back when you created your pantheon of heroes, but now to really bring it back right now, we need a parody of this stuff, because I got to be honest, what they're doing at Marvel, it's like, enough. You guys made me kind of hate alternate universes, so we need somebody with your sense of humor to remind us that it's like, yeah, this is kind of silly, and it can be kind of silly and fun.
Well, you can take it down now. This is the I mean, it's a kind of a subtext of all these. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to what other people have been doing for since about 1985. So I've been in my own little world. So, but
when you were doing other things, were they non-illustrative, or I mean, were you having to work in the real world? You know what I mean?
No, I went back to college.
For real? Would you tell me?
2003.
Wow.
And excuse me, studied art history, architectural history, and they didn't kick me out before I got a PhD, so I'm doctored on now.
Wow.
No kidding. And
that's fantastic.
I did that for a while. I did teaching for a while, and I taught college level and so forth. And which is why it's fun to go up to Ithacon, because they're a college setting, and the kids are actually the show is actually part of a class, as you know. They on how to run a comic book convention. And,
for real?
Ed Cato gives them a pep talk like he's a drill sergeant. Now it's like, we're going to open the doors, and the people are going to come in, and you got to smile, and you got to treat the guests, blah blah blah. And he gives them a marching orders at the beginning of every day. And I listen outside the broom closet, because they're right out right next to the dealer's room and stuff.
Sure.
So we set up our tables, and then we go over and we listen. It's dressing down the troops and getting them ready, and
it's practical experience, Don. I mean, not only for a comic convention, but any sort of event planning. And that's great, man. These kids really learn, and then they can go out in the world and actually have a credit, a real work credit, before they get their first, paying job. I think it's great.
So they've been doing that. Sorry, we froze a little bit there. I think.
Yeah. On my end
I'm
as
on
well.
Wi-Fi. It's
cool.
not
Yeah,
up to standard for StreamYard, so.
Fear not, son. We'll for the audio, we'll edit it all, and it will all make sense. I promise. Don't worry.
So yeah, it's a credit course, and I don't know if anybody's run a convention outside of Ithacon, but they get their feet wet.
Yeah.
And they have to deal with us cranky old living legends, and and I guess I qualify now. I'm not Walt Simonson or Don McGregor, but Dean Haspiel, he's getting old and cranky too. I'll tell you the truth. So we have like this regular crowd that comes up there, and I like the academic setting, and it's a nice little campus. And
yeah.
Bill is great. He's always wearing his Flash costume.
Is it a Golden Age or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
See, that is the best. I mean, I love the Barry Allen costume too. But come on, man, that Jay Garrett costume, that's great.
We make him run around the parking lot too before the.
Does he have the helmet? Does he have he's got the Mercury
helmet? He's got the World War I doughboy helmet and the whole thing.
Wings and all.
Oh yeah.
That's excellent. I want to say Bill Shelley, the old comic fan from Comic Fandom and stuff, also had a Jay Garrett costume and stuff. So that's cool. That's terrific. So
I wanted to show you a piece of artwork.
Absolutely, I'll zoom in. It'd be my pleasure. Boom.
Well, this is going to be the back cover of the Ithacon program book.
Beautiful.
And here's Megaton Man, Cosmic Cat, Ms. Megaton Man, and I introduced Ithacon Man last year.
Okay.
I did a piece of art, and then now she's Ithac Amazon.
Ooh, very nice.
And we're hoping to. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm trying to get these things to catch on. Maybe we'll start a little, start some merch and stuff. But that's going to be on the back cover of the program booklet.
That's fantastic, man. Well, again, you've always come up with these things. Can I ask, is Terry Gilliam a guy that was an influence of you? Because I see a through line from some of his Python stuff as far as his illustrations to your stuff.
Yeah, well, and I've only seen a few of his published pieces. I mean, he worked for Kurtzman and so forth, and Trump and so on. But I mean, Python in general was definitely a formative influence. There was a comedy record. Speaking of Del Close, Del Close did one of the early comedy records, a couple of them. One of them was How to Speak Hip. The other one was Do It Yourself Psychoanalysis Kit. And it was like the heyday of comedy records. But there was a comedy record called Beyond the Fringe, which was out of England. And it had Dudley Moore, Peter Cook, Jonathan Miller, and I'm forgetting.
Alan Bennett.
Alan Bennett. And they all went on to do great things. They all, obviously.
Yes, they did. Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, Cook and Moore, continued as a duo. You know who I got to meet? And now, damn it, I'm blanking on his name. He was in the Spinal Tap movie as their manager, and he was at Cambridge. Okay. I can't think of his name right now. Shame on me. Maybe somebody in the chat knows who I'm talking about. But I had him on years ago because he went on to National Lampoon Radio and would do the Lampoon albums and the Radio Hour as well. Really, really cool guy. Cleese was friends with him, and he saw
British or American. Was he British or American?
British. Blonde hair, a little pudgy. Had the cricket bat in Spinal Tap and was their manager. But yeah, I can't. Shame on me.
In any case, I have never seen Spinal Tap. I'm looking forward to the second movie. I'm gonna see them both.
There we go. G. Corijo, Tony Hendra. I'm talking about Tony Hendra. And Tony, as far as and also he was part of, do you remember those Splitting Image, the puppets that they made parodies of celebrities and stuff? Yeah. and the Genesis video for Land of Confusion. So yeah, Tony Hendra was
Right.
part of Spitting Image as well. Cool
Oh,
guy.
okay. Yeah.
And he
Okay.
comes from that same. Yeah, he was a couple years behind the Fringe guys because I know they all started at Cambridge and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
and yes, as Jiku Riho is saying, also did work on the National Lampoon magazine as well. Yeah, Tony was a cool guy. But I agree with you that Beyond the Fringe, pretty neat. So that was
They
another
all,
influence.
well, a lot of the Python guys wrote for David Frost. We think of David Frost as interviewing Richard Nixon, but
Yes.
David Frost was a comedian.
Oh yeah.
So that's a whole different,
I've
but you
seen a
know,
couple. I've seen they're on a couple episodes are on YouTube of the Frost Report and stuff. I've seen that stuff.
Peter Sellers and Alec Guinness and all those guys from the 50s. I've seen a lot of those movies, but that was all kind of later. But yeah, the Pythons and Beyond the Fringe in high school, there was some, one of our youth counselors at church had the Beyond the Fringe album. Now they've uncovered like video and so forth. There was like what do they call that? A film of film document of the
Oh
Beyond the
yeah.
Fringe show and so forth. But all that stuff and Saturday Night Live and
Sure.
all the comedy of the 70s, really. MASH, Mary Tyler Moore. What I particularly was influenced by were comedies that segued into drama. And if you watched MASH, the TV show, and also the movie, but the TV show particularly, it would be a sitcom, but then it would get very, very serious and dramatic because obviously these are doctors in Korea, saving lives and
Yeah.
losing soldiers on the operating table and stuff. So it's always that mixture of drama and comedy, and I think that might have influenced me. And then the Mary Tyler Moore show, you had Lou Grant, a spin-off, an hour-long drama. So I think I was influenced. I was very much formed by all that stuff, up through like Robin Williams, Mork and Mindy, and then Airplane, and all of the
Sure.
70s, with a lot of 60s backloading. All of
Yeah.
that was very, very influential on my sensibilities.
What city were you having your formative years in?
Suburban Detroit.
Okay. Oh man, you're
So my
telling you, I'm Chicago. So there you go, man. We're Midwest guys. Absolutely.
Yeah, my gold used to be on radio and across the tunnel in Windsor with Dick Purton, I
Sure.
recall. And but he's kicked around the Midwest and
Oh,
so
Mike, I'll
forth.
tell you,
So
we have a lot of mutual friends that he was starting out with in radio in Chicago that were the generation ahead of me, but we're still in the business that I got to know. So we have a lot of mutual friends in the Chicago radio business. So that was just another good connection with Mike.
Chicago radio is like nothing in America. There's nothing like it. And that's where I finally met Del Close. Was Kim Howard Johnson had a show on Saturday mornings
Sure.
that Moondog sponsored.
Moondog
If
Comics,
you remember
absolutely, man.
just like Ithacon is sponsoring you, there was Gary Colabano had a chain called Moondogs, and he sponsored the Pop Culture Radio Hour.
Yes.
And I happened to be in town. This is '94. I was just starting Bizarre Heroes,
Okay.
and he brought me in to this, like there was like a industrial park, little tiny studio, and the guests were Del Close, Tiny Tim, me, and Joe Casada and Jimmy Palmiotti, who were a team at that point. And
Yeah, back when
Kim Howard Johnson, who's written extensively about Monty Python and
oh yeah,
all that stuff.
he's the Python historian, absolutely, man. And I know too when they proposed for Cleese and John Byrne to do that parody of Superman, True Brit. Cleese was going to write it. It ended up that Johnson ended up really writing it. And Cleese kind of pitched him ideas, as I understood
Yeah.
it. But I had those Python books that Johnson wrote and everything. Every now and then, I'll be on an email chain, as I'm sure you are, and I'll be on that Mike will send out, and he'll have me on there with Johnson and my buddy Charlie Meyerson, the old XRT, WXRT news guy. And yeah, So, and John, I always pump Gold and Ostrander about First Comics in Evanston, Illinois, because I grew up in the town right next to it. And when First was having its big years, I was downstate at Illinois State in college. And I'm like, oh man, I missed you guys. Well, I go, I totally would have been bothering you guys as a young, in my teens
Well,
and
that
20s,
was,
you know.
but that was the only time I met Del
Dell?
Close in
Yeah.
person. I'd met John through the Chicago Comic Con, so I knew him at the time that he was writing the scripts.
So when you
I'd
guys
met
were
him
doing,
before. I'd done a Grimjack. I'd done a what is it, Cynosure City, whatever it was, that
or
backup
Munden's Bar,
feature,
maybe that
Munden's
Munden's Bar.
Bar backup
Yeah,
feature.
sure.
So I knew John Oster, and me and Bill Lobes went to John's house and so forth. So we knew John. I never met Dell until, like I said, that radio show in '94, the
Crazy.
Moondogs Pop Culture Hour.
Yep.
So yeah, that
Gary
was
Gary hung on to the old recordings of that, and he's got a website set up, and
oh yeah.
he's been reposting them and stuff.
Yeah,
And
that episode is online now. So
that's great. No, that's excellent, man. No, that's honestly, Don, I've been doing Word Balloon now for 20 years, literally. I started in 2005, and I hope that people will regard it as the kind of artifact of the time in the way that Gary's show is.
he talked to a living legend. He talked to so and so, the last recorded known interview before something, or
For real, man. No,
well,
I'm
it's
lucky.
all yeah, it's all you have no idea what I mean, and speaking of Wasteland and speaking of, all
Yeah,
that stuff, you know, you don't know what is going to gain
endure.
in value. And I
Yeah.
didn't, I mentioned, I paid my rent for a couple of years and I was learning how to interpret scripts, but I didn't, I tell this every time I see John, every time I see Mike Gold, I say, I just didn't appreciate the opportunity that I had. I really should have, I really should have, instead of those Megaton Man one shots, I should have just totally concentrated on this. But like I said, you didn't have the kind of research available. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have clips of, Ferris Bueller's Day Off with Del Close. You didn't have all the resources you have now.
The
Um,
Untouchables, another
and I
movie
was
that
just kind of faking it and just doing the best I could. I was learning on the job, as I say. But yeah, I go to shows and I meet people and Wasteland and some like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle thing that I penciled, and it's like, or like I inked, XYZ, and you get that uh, you get that praise, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, or somebody brings up something and they want it autographed because that was their first comic book, and it's like, you want me to autograph this hunk of crap? This I just hacked that out to pay my bills that month. It's like, so you gain a new perspective. I'm very lucky to be around long
I
enough to
that's funny, Don, because and I appreciate
appreciate.
well, but I appreciate that honesty because I know of other comic podcasts that talk about history, and they really do treat this stuff like the New Testament in terms of, oh, these geniuses came up with that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, don't get me wrong, the end result is amazing, but as you were saying, these guys were punching the clock for a paycheck and cranking out the pages so they'd get paid, and I go, they didn't know what was going to endure and what wasn't going to endure. They're on to the next assignment. We value Mort Meskin, who I love from the Golden Age, and I mean that's
Hmm.
beautiful. Those vigilante Western comics and stuff, and
Sure.
it's like, yeah, again, I'm sure he's like, yeah, all right, here's my 8-page story. All right, give me my check, thank you. Yeah, on to the next. What do you got next for me? And that's great. You know what I mean?
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is, John, that kind of learning on the job just isn't available today. And I talk to young people all the time. Um, Cartoonists that are sitting around coffee shops and they're watching your podcast, or what they're watching, cartoonist kayfabe,
Yeah.
reruns and stuff,
Yeah.
um, and they're just dreaming of the old days when you could, be a mainstream hack.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it's like, that just isn't available today, and nor is, most commercial art gigs. I mean, all the stuff that I took for granted, and I didn't necessarily, I would have preferred if Megaton Man had become a household word and Border
Well, sure.
Worlds had sold and all that stuff. But thank God there was freelance work there, because there was, Marvel, DC paying their page rates, and I don't think the page rates have gone up. They've probably taken a few steps back since the mid '80s, the late '80s. Now I don't think they're paying anything more.
Well,
Um,
also, as maybe had happened with your era and everything, there's people asking for higher page rates, and all they do is then they go to the next generation and like, hey, kid, you wanna draw for Marvel? We're gonna pay peanuts. Deal me in. Sounds great. I get to draw Spider-Man. Where do I sign? That kind for real. But it's interesting, Don, because I hear what you're saying, but also, what do you think of the web comics, and also the fact that people can put their work online so they could potentially get eyeballs? And I mean, I know people like my friend Ryan Brown really got going because of his web comics, and and he does image books. He never really has worked for the big two. He did a little bit, I think, for Dark Horse for a moment, but started from web comics, and thankfully through social media got other cartoonists interested in his work, so they were kind of like, hey, you should check this guy's strip out. It was a crazy strip. It was called God Hates Astronauts. A different art style, but definitely in your kind of sensibility, and a lot of other great comedy cartoonists. So
well, let me respond to that.
please.
Put the multi-mentions cover back up, if you
My
would,
pleasure.
just for a
Absolutely.
second,
Stand by. It'll be there in a minute.
because this is very interesting. Well, that's the
Oh,
complete.
sorry.
That's
Next
just
one.
that's just my old stuff. That's the omnibus. This is like, and you can zoom in on that if you want, because
I'm not able to, but
these are all indie cartoonists. These are all people that I most of whom I worked just online through social media. And a lot of the people, there are some big names that you've heard. There's Alan Davis and Chris Ecker and Paul Smith and lots of Steve Bissett and
I
Larry
love
Martyr
Steve.
from the '80s. But there's a lot of people that are new, up and coming, and some people haven't even been in print yet. There's Amanda Stella Powers, there's Jared Catherine, there's Milo Trent, who's an artist in Tehran,
Cool.
Iran.
Cool.
So I mean, that's the world we live in now, where you can actually make connections with these people. And I don't look at a lot of web comics per se, but I'm in contact through social media with people around the world. We have a Canadian artist, Trish Ellis. We have a guy in South Texas, Joe Ely Corrales III, and he's self-publishing his own work. We have people in California, the publishers in California, Eli Schwab, Cosmic Lion Productions. So all of these, you know, these are people, some of whom I saw Eli earlier this year. I've seen him at shows. But a lot of people I have not physically met yet, and I may never meet them. And here they are, we're collaborating on a comic book. So that's the world we live in now. The world of Mike Gold in the '80s. I met Mike at a convention, and we faxed, and we sent Bristol board through
Sure.
FedEx.
Sure.
And DC would send me Bristol board, and then I would cover it and then send it back, and all that stuff. That's just a lost world.
I,
So
I
now
understand.
people are scanning, and that's it.
Are you still drawing on paper? Have you transferred to tablet? And I mean, obviously, you showed me the cover of
Yeah,
Ithacon cover or program.
I'm still. This is Bristol
Awesome.
board, Indian
Fantastic.
ink on paper. I'm kind of half and half. That's the interesting thing. I put together this project. Some of these artists are totally digital. Kerry Callan, I think, is completely digital. Bill Morrison,
Oh, I love Bill's stuff.
excuse me,
Sure.
Bill Morrison is he did the illustration on the inside front cover. He works brush and ink. He's old school.
Sure.
There's some people who are like so old school. There's one artist who doesn't even go to Staples to make copies. He has to mail it to somebody else, and it's a
Oh
whole
my.
thing. But
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
it's real. Every kind of kind of workflow that you can imagine. Digital, and I'm somewhere in between because I'm kind of, my Image experience. Image was the first publisher to really computer color, and that was
Okay.
such a revolution in the early '90s. We take it for granted now, but that got me into. Um, I mean, just the paycheck I got from Eric Larson, I could go out and buy a Macintosh computer and get into that Photoshops and so forth. Otherwise, I might still be, I might just still be, one of these guys that is, sticks and stones and smoke signals and so forth. So,
Well, the
but
only
there are those people are still there. They're still out there too.
Well, the only disadvantage that I see as far as digital, because again, I've got enough friends that had the Wacom's and everything, and drawing with a stylus, is the ability to sell original art. And I mean, that's the thing. You've got original pages and stuff that you can sell in that aftermarket situation. And the purely digital people, yeah, they can run off prints and things like that, but they're not. I don't think they're in the. They could do commissions, I'm sure, on paper, but as I'm sure they do. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was
Just
just at a show. I was at a little show, a zine show here in Pittsburgh this past weekend. I saw some old friends and some of the old timers and so forth. But there's the whole new generation and diverse and doing their mini comics in every possible format. And a lot of them are you know uh, all digital, or they're just trying to make their table back selling books. And I at least have the luxury of being, I'm kind of vintage, and if I sell one
yeah,
piece of artwork, I can pay my month's rent.
I'm hip.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
or if I get a few commissions. So I'm, and I know people, some of these guys who are all digital. Um, Tom Scholey is all digital, and he just makes it selling books and so forth, and that's his vibe. But luckily, I have this archive of old stuff and vintage stuff, and people, there are still original art collectors, and without that, I don't know. I don't know if I could sell enough. I don't know if I
do
could
you
sell enough paperbacks to keep
no
going.
I do you do commissions? Will you be doing commissions at Ithacon, or are you just selling the books
Yeah,
and
what's your budget? What do you want? Let me sign you up.
you're catching me right
I
before
do a
tax
lot
time,
of.
so it's a lean month.
I know what you mean. I do a lot of. I do actually a lot more. People request other characters. And the funny
Sure.
thing about the '80s and '90s is I couldn't get arrested by Marvel. I I
Well,
got
I
I
wanted to
I
ask about
got into
Marvel. Go ahead. Go ahead.
DC as far I got into DC as far as Wasteland. I did a couple Flash stories, but I never got into the mainstream superheroes. But
Yeah.
now, because I have this mature style, and it's kind of silver agey, and it's kind of all the Ramita, Gilkane, Buscema, Kirby, and so I get a lot of commissions from people who want those company characters. I won't mention any trademarks, but so I don't
I
want anybody coming after me. But I.
yeah. No, I get it.
And it's funny because back in the day, I couldn't. I was considered I was considered too out of it or too old school to be, in the '90s. The hip,
Wow.
the hip image cross hatching thing or whatever they
Wow.
were doing.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
I can appreciate the new style and everything, but yeah, again, whatever. That's styles come and go. Mentioning Marvel, and tell me if this is true. I and forgive me, Wikipedia was my source. I didn't know about this. That you had a parody of the Fantastic Four that initially Marvel took offense to, and even tried to kind of push back in a legal way.
well, that was in the early issues of Megaton Man. I had a character group called the Megatropolis Quartet, and we were spoofing. I was spoofing uh, the Silver Age comics that I grew up with, um, but mostly they tended to be mostly Marvel because that's mostly what I read.
Sure.
Um, and they got a little upset with us doing that, and particularly because there was a button we did a pin back button that Megaton Man's shaking his fist and he says, "I eat X-Men for breakfast." He said, "Are you kidding? I eat X-Men for breakfast." He's like, and because it said X-Men on it, we were selling it for like $1. That was considered, they regarded that as, we were doing Marvel merch unofficially or something. So that was what kind of triggered it. But, and so then they sent us this letter, cease and desist, don't do that anymore. And we should have just filed it away. And, we had Dennis had a lawyer in Madison, Wisconsin, right back and said,
Sure.
we're sold out. We're not doing it anymore. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
And it was all just kind of, paperwork.
Sure.
But Dennis thought, oh, we can generate some sympathy out there, and we should put out a press release and, talk about how the big bad, company without a sense of humor is trying to pick on us and stuff. And that seemed like a good idea at the moment. But ever since, I've had to explain to people, no, that we didn't, they didn't kill Megaton Man. No, I wasn't in prison. No, it's just, we didn't change anything we were doing. It was just paperwork, because you have to protect your trademarks.
Of course.
I've come to appreciate that myself. I'll be sending you, my lawyers will be contacting you and just, make sure everything is. They rough people up, that's the army of lawyers. But that's it. It didn't. It wasn't worth mentioning. So, but now everybody's like, oh my God, censorship. It's a shame that you had to stop doing Megaton Man. And
are any of the current political machinations, and really you can point at both sides really for some I think people that are ready to be parodied. I mean, the reality sometimes is even scarier than the parody.
I have a storyline where I have a character called Bad Guy.
Okay, Bad Guy.
Bad Guy. He's the arch villain and he started off. He's kind of this bulldog purple costume, and but then he started wearing a suit and he became more like Kingpin. He was more like a corporate type and white collar criminal, and he was a munitions and a real estate developer. And this is in the first series of Megaton Man in the 80s. And I do have a storyline where he becomes president of the United States. So that is just, I don't know if that has any relevance. It's an allegory. It's a little allegory. So
Bob Harrison of the Pop Culture Squad checking in and says, looking forward to seeing Don at Ithacon. So that's
hey,
cool.
Bob. I always call him Ed for some reason too. But I've got your name now, Bob. Mark my words. If I call you Ed, I owe you a drink. For some reason, I'm really bad with names, but
I'm assuming Bob will be moderating panels. But go ahead. You have to say
he's going to call me Dan. He's going to get back at me. But that's great. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to the show. It's a nice show. It's a nice weekend show, and we need all the social contact we can get these days. So
I get it, man. No, and honestly, I keep telling people, as great and fun as the big shows are, like San Diego, New York, and Chicago, that's coming up the weekend after Terrificon, it is these medium and small shows where you really get to meet the creators, and it's more of a relaxing. There's less tension, less people, and then not in a bad way, but that again, people can spread out. And if the aspiring cartoonists can come up and ask you questions and some of the others and stuff, it's a great way to network and get that initial kind of networking.
Yeah, it's always a great time. I'm looking forward to seeing the group, and it's we usually kick off with a dinner.
Oh, nice.
So I'll hopefully get in Friday night, and usually take up a couple tables. I've gotten to know Walt Simonson from Ithacon, and I didn't really know him back in the day, but and Dean Haspiel and Glenn Whitmore.
Okay.
So I've gotten to know. There's kind of a regular cast. Bill Anderson should be there, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the usual gang. And I've never met Don McGregor.
Oh, cool.
Believe so. Yeah, should be a fun time.
That's great. You know, when you were doing your stuff, and other guys like Bob Burden and Morrison and some of the others that are also doing comedy comics and stuff, did you get to know these guys through conventions and seeing their stuff as it was happening?
Well, yeah, I knew Bob Burden. We did. He worked on Flaming Carrot.
Yeah.
We did a team up, the Normal Man Megaton Man special.
Oh
Flaming
yeah,
Carrot
Normal
was in
Man.
there
Sure. Yeah.
Tales of the Bean World. Larry Marty's
Oh yeah.
Tales of the Bean
Yeah,
World.
Larry Mortar and
We
Tales from the Bean World. Sure.
there was Jim Valentino really put that together, and he convinced Larry Langford of the Dallas Fantasy Fair, the late Larry Langford, to fly us down. And so we all flew down. Me, Larry Martyr, Bob Burden, Jim Valentino. Um, we flew down to Texas. We did a few shows, and we did a few signings at Lone Star Comics and stuff like that. And we discussed a team up. We discussed this team up like it was like it was a Beatles album or something. Like we were plotting
A
a
great event.
movie or something.
Sure.
And yeah, that's so. Yeah, I know Bob, and then Bill Moore. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bill Morrison. I actually went to art school with him. He was a couple years ahead of me.
Oh
I
wow.
dropped out,
Okay.
um, and he went on to do advertising, and then of course, he went on to work for Matt Groening and Bongo Comics and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever do any Simpson comics? I mean, it would seem that your style would, even though there's that
No,
wild
but
style.
I'll tell you, Bill wanted to do a Radioactive Man team up with Megaton Man,
Sure.
and this would have been back in the '90s, and we. I said, "Oh, sure. Let's go find Matt." And so this was this is at like the 95, 96 show in San Diego. We tracked him down right after the banquet of some kind. And I said, and I'd known Matt briefly, just from like his in Hell or From Hell books that he was doing.
Yeah.
Um, and I've always thought, just between you and me, John, I always thought that he thought the name Simpson was so funny because he had met me, and he used that. So I figured he owes me a couple $1 billion, but it's just a theory I have. But I said, yeah, here we're gonna do a Megaton Man, Radioactive Man team up, and I guess I just caught him on a wrong moment, and he just looked at me like he gave me that Hollywood. He had already gone Hollywood. That's my point. He was just
Interesting.
like, "You want something from me? What? Like." And I looked at Bill, and Bill just shrank.
I
And
don't know what he's talking about. I
then
swear,
me
man.
and Bill just left, and I said, "Oh, I guess that's not going to happen, Bill. Something tells me Matt's not into that team up idea."
That's a
So
damn
we
shame.
we tabled that.
Yeah, that's a
But
damn shame, man.
uh, who knows? Who knows? Maybe. But Bill's kind of a freelancer now,
Oh yeah.
and that illustration. I don't know if you have that illustration handy. The
Which
Bill
one?
Morrison, the Bill Morrison drawing. It's on the
Oh, is it in the Google Drive document, the PDF you sent me?
yeah, it's in the PDF. But anyway, Bill draws Megaton Man, kind of Homer Simpson as Megaton Man.
Oh, funny.
We don't say who the character is, but it's in the Simpson style. But
Sure.
he drew that because he was writing the intro for the complete Megaton Man, which is the collection of '80s stuff. And I said, you've written this beautiful introduction. Can you draw something to illustrate it? And I was thinking like a from hell scribbly wobbly rapidograph drawing on a napkin or something. And he did this
Sure.
beautiful, just absolutely beautiful brush drawing and in full color.
Wow.
And so that's how we got. And I'm using it in both publications.
Oh, that's great.
I
So
think we could sell a movie based on that one drawing. It's just fantastic.
that's
So,
excellent. Did you see his Yellow Submarine graphic novel
oh
that
yeah,
he made?
sure,
Wasn't that
yeah,
great? Yeah, I mean, no,
yeah.
he's no Bill's again another talented, great
Very
cartoonist.
versatile, very very
Yeah,
versatile artist.
absolutely. No, I'm sorry that again I don't have the PDF handy to throw up on the screen like I do the two covers. But gosh, I almost feel like again post Ithacon. How long is the Kickstarter campaign going to go?
Well, it's going to go April 17th. It's going to go 30 days.
Okay,
And hopefully we'll raise millions and millions of dollars so I can pay all. We got 60 contributors. And and they all, it was a kind of a peer pressure thing because I really think once they saw Bill Morrison, oh, he's involved. Oh, okay. And Kerry Callan used to work for Bill at Mad Magazine. So, and then and then three other guys, oh, hey, thing's a real thing. Like, and so all through 2024, it was like a snowball. There was more and more people wanted to be involved in it. And which is why it's 230 pages. So now we have to pay everybody. We promised them peanuts, but now it's really adding up because it's kind of overdid it. So yeah, we need to have a successful Kickstarter. But
well
yeah, it was a
maybe
lot of peer pressure and a lot of people like word of mouth and like, oh, you know, so and so's in this, and wow, this is great. I want to be in there too. And I didn't have to beat anybody over the head to get them to turn in their work, which is wonderful because people were like I said, they would just see like here. Yeah, I would post on my Facebook page. Here's the latest thing that came in this week, and they'd be, oh man, I better get my crap together. So that all became kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So people just found the discipline. Some of these projects, as you might know, drag on years and years, and people promise you something, and then or something, somebody gets sick or something happens or something. But I didn't have that problem with multi-mentions. We had a year schedule, but so I knew it was going to take some time. But I didn't have to worry about people turning in work. They all made their deadlines. I didn't have to get after anybody,
that's great. So
rough anybody up.
the the art is in then, and you're just putting it together now, or you've
It's
already got
all colored, lettered. It's been for a couple weeks now. We're just kind of
cool.
waiting. So we think April 17th, after tax time,
Sure.
it would be a good opportunity. So that's what we're betting on.
Well, honestly, man, because I almost feel like I'm short shrifting you in terms of potential images I could have shown. If you want, maybe mid campaign, like literally like a month, like in the middle of the campaign or near the end of the campaign for a final push. If you wanted to come back and we can even show off more images and things. But
Sure.
Tunes by Troy says that guy rocks. Not many folks' art can stand up to Eric Larson and still look great. That brushwork, man. So he's impressed.
Well, we
Tunes
did
by
Eric Larson. We did a team up in '93, so it's
Dragon and
already
Megaton
30.
Man.
Oh yeah, and that was yeah, that's a lot of people's first exposure to my work. So and there's still a lot of them floating around. You go bin diving, you can find uncirculated copies of those image titles. So yeah, that's thanks, Tune Guy.
Tunes by Troy.
Tunes by Troy. Thank you, Tunes by Troy.
There you go. Very cool. So yeah, I think people that are going to Ithacon this weekend will get a good dose of not only an art experience, but also if they go to the panels, they're going to get a lot of good educational knowledge from you people, and that's really cool. Again, it's this weekend, this Saturday and Sunday at Ithaca College. and it's a great show. And Don Simpson is among the people that you can go and meet and get to know better. But in the meantime, too, starting April 17th, we're going to get the campaign for Megaton Man Multi-Mentions. And also coming from Fantagraphics, boom, the complete Megaton Man universe, a great collection of, as it says, Volume 1, the 80s. So, again, hopefully we'll also see Volume 2, and we'll get the 90s work from Don Simpson. So, cool stuff, man.
And there's more where that came from. I've been
Fantastic.
working. I was just drawing stuff today.
I was going to ask if you got anything cooking.
I just showed, well, and the thing about social media is I'll post something and I'll like, this is a layout. I won't even try to explain what this is from. This is
Okay.
coming way down the road, but this is a canary yellow tracing paper.
Okay.
Talk about old school. And I have a little light
Light box. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll pencil straight on Bristol. Sometimes I'll do it this way with where I have to light box it. But yeah, so that is coming. And this was a character from, gosh, what was he in? He was in Megaton Man 8. So I'm digging up these old characters, and but that you can't click on something and buy that right now. It's still on my drawing board.
All right.
So hold on. But there's more new stuff planned.
That's great to hear, and I'm glad you're doing it. Is for your social media, what are your handles on social media?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I just started on Substack.
Oh, great! Congrats.
We
That's
should
great.
probably. Can I put a comment?
I'll give it. Yeah. I'll create a banner if you want. You can put a comment in, and I'll throw a banner up for the video audience so they can see it. So sure.
What is
you want to put it in the chat? Yeah, the URL for the Substack. That's great, man. So are you kind of doing like a newsletter with art? Is that how you're doing it?
Yeah, I've been doing it about a week.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Can I?
Yeah, if you copy the URL and paste it into the chat, it'll be in the chat for everybody that's watching on YouTube. But then also I'll make a banner of it, and actually I'll just throw the image up from the chat. So yeah, if you got your
all right,
your URL,
it's just the @ Can you see that?
did you put it? Where'd you put? You got to hit the arrow to get it in the chat if you have it.
Private chat @
Oh, yeah.
Don Simpson.
Oh, excuse me. There it is. All right.
And that's my Substack.
Okay, 1 second. I will put that in the chat for everybody.
And I've been particularly talking about the two Megaton Man projects. So if they want more,
sure,
people want more information about complete Megaton Man.
So yeah, there we go. It's at Dom. Yeah, at Dom Simpson. Don Simpson. 358397. So is that part of the URL? So it's Substack.com / Don Simpson 35897.
Yeah, I think yes, that is correct.
Okay, and if that's too complicated,
358-397 is a deeply significant number that a computer generated for no reason. I don't know what that means, but I think if you just Google, you'll find me, and you'll find me on Facebook. And I have some YouTube videos.
Great. Oh, do you do process?
I kind of look like this. So if you see an icon that looks kind of like that, that's probably me or somebody faking me.
That's cool. That's great, man. Don, a pleasure meeting you, man. And seriously, let's reconvene in like 30 days, beginning in May, when there's still time for the Kickstarter campaign that starts April 17th.
If you're man enough, John, enough.
I feel,
I'll see you.
There you go, man. No, it'd be a pleasure.
All right.
Great talking to you,
dude. Thank you very
dude.
much. Thanks to Ed for sponsoring your show, and I'm looking forward to the Ithacon weekend. So,
well, and thank you for being there. I know that the people are going to have a great time watching you on your panel and coming up to your table along with the others and everything. So that's terrific. So
long, Chicagoland. We'll see you soon. Thanks.
Thanks everybody for watching and listening. And more great word balloon coming up in the days ahead. I got C2E2 the following weekend after Ithacon. So until then, everybody stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.